So what is feminism? I mean, really, it's a word we hear all the time, right? But it can be super complex, and honestly, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. In this explainer, drawing on insights from Professor Arun Sharma of Gobind Gur Public College, we're going to unpack that complexity. We're diving into the history, the core ideas, and all the different theories that make up the worlds of feminism and gender studies.
And hey, if you've ever felt a little fuzzy on the exact definition, you are in very good company. Way back, the critic Rebecca West said it perfectly. It's kind of comforting, right? It just goes to show that from the very beginning, feminism has never been just one single thing. It's always been this big, evolving mix of ideas.
Okay, so to get our bearings, let's start with a solid foundational definition. At its absolute heart, feminism is a movement. It's social, it's political, and it's cultural. And its goal? To challenge the way things are, to push for rights, freedom, and real equality for women. It's all about bringing women's experiences out of the shadows and into the spotlight.
So what is the way things are that feminism is challenging? Well, there's a word for it: patriarchy. This is basically a system where men tend to hold most of the power, politically, socially, and economically. Feminists argue this isn't just a coincidence, it creates a built-in bias against women. You really have to get this concept because feminism pretty much grew as a direct response to this power structure. Now, that response didn't just happen overnight. The history of feminism is usually broken down into what people call waves. Each one had its own unique focus and its own set of goals. So let's ride these waves for a minute and see how this whole thing has changed over time. As you can see, this journey covers 4 distinct waves, starting way back in the mid-1800s and taking us all the way to today's digital world. And what's so fascinating is that each wave doesn't just add on to the last one. A lot of the time, it actually critiques it and shifts the focus as society itself changes.
The first wave was all about getting the basics on the books. The main goal was to secure fundamental legal rights for women. The most famous one, of course, was the right to vote, that's suffrage. But it was also about things we take for granted now, like the right to own property or even get a proper education.
Then came the second wave, which totally broadened the fight. It went from just legal rights to a much wider battle for social equality. The big rallying cry here was, "The personal is political." This was a game-changing idea. It meant that things once considered private problems, like what happens at home, at work, or with your own body, were actually huge political issues that needed everyone to take action. The third wave really kicked off by looking at the second wave and saying, hey, wait a minute. The critique was that it often focused on the experiences of white, middle-class women. So the third wave brought us this hugely important concept, intersectionality. This is the idea that womanhood isn't just one experience. Instead, things like your race, your class, and your sexuality all overlap to create totally unique layers of both discrimination and privilege.
And that brings us right up to today, to the fourth wave. You could say this wave is defined by technology. Digital activism, using social media and hashtags like #MeToo, has become an incredibly powerful way to organize, to share stories, and to demand accountability for harassment on a massive global scale.
Okay, so that's the history, but what about the ideas driving all this? Well, underneath everything, there's this fundamental debate that has shaped feminist theory from day one, and it all comes down to one big question: nature versus culture. Think about it. Are the traits that we call masculine or feminine just baked into our biology? Are we born with them? Or are they things we learn from our society, our families, our language? How you answer that question basically puts you into one of 2 major camps of feminist thought. And those 2 camps are called essentialism and constructivism. Essentialists lean towards nature. They argue that there are inherent or essential qualities to being female. Constructivists, they're on the culture side. They argue that gender is something that is socially and culturally built or constructed. Let's just break that down a bit more. For essentialists, the source of gender is nature, biology. That means traits are seen as inherent and pretty fixed. Their whole focus is on understanding that unique difference. But for constructivists, the source is culture and history. That means traits are fluid, they change over time. Their focus is on taking apart the stereotypes and social rules that create gender in the first place. And this brings us right back to that quote from the beginning. See, the reason it's so hard to pin down feminism is because it's not one thing. It's feminisms, plural. There's a whole spectrum of different theories that pull from these core ideas in all sorts of different ways. And the diversity is just incredible. You've got psychoanalytic feminism, which looks at our subconscious. There's multicultural feminism, which focuses on race and identity. Marxist feminism links gender to the class struggle. And queer theory takes it even further, challenging the whole idea of fixed gender categories. And believe me, this is just scratching the surface.
Let's just zoom in on one of these for a second. Marxist feminism. This is a great example of constructivist thinking. It argues that you can't possibly understand gender without looking at the economic system. From this point of view, our social roles, even our identities, are shaped by the economic machine of our society.
So where has all this thinking and activism and debating actually led us? Well, one of the biggest legacies, especially from that constructivist side of things, is the creation of a whole new field of study. And this is where it all clicks into place. That constructivist idea that gender isn't just a biological fact, but is actually made by culture and by history, that was revolutionary. It completely opened the door for people to start studying gender itself as a cultural invention, which led directly to the birth of gender studies. So what exactly is gender studies? Well, it's the academic field that takes that constructivist idea and runs with it. It looks at how our ideas about gender are shaped by literally everything: our language, our politics, the media. It's all about separating the biological category of sex from the cultural category of gender. And this leaves us with a really powerful final thought. If it's true, if gender isn't some fixed natural thing, but is instead made by culture and history, well, then it's not set in stone, is it? It means it can be unmade, it can be remade, it can be reimagined. So the real question isn't just about what gender is now, it's about what it could be. And what does that possibility mean for our future?